A lot of companies and entrepreneurs looking to source software development, they see offshore talent as cheaper, it's a more affordable path to take. And while it's true, going offshore can be far less expensive, you do need to be careful because in many cases, you get what you pay for. In some parts of the world, the quality of the code may suffer the cheaper you go, but in my opinion, that's not the biggest problem. The real issue is the breakdown of communication and the vision of how to execute your product. In my experience working with programmers in Eastern Europe, they are more inclined to ask clarifying questions until they understand you. They're more ready to respond with suggestions and recommendations like, are you sure this is the best way to do this? Have you considered this other path? And that in and of itself creates a lot of value for our customers. So even though these specialists are more expensive than developers from other parts of the world, they really do provide value for their price tag. And they're still less expensive than hiring someone in the United States. Plus, you can avoid the risk of making that full-time permanent hire, and then, something happens and you have to let them go in the middle of, let's say, a global pandemic. With us, you can scale up or down depending upon your roadmap and your dev needs throughout the year. Chances are we've already gone down some kind of path that you're considering. So, for example, you want to include text message notifications in your app. Well, we've done that before, multiple times. Or you might want to create a business model that maybe it's not even allowed in the App Store or Google Play. Well, we've learned that the hard way ourselves too. So we have that experience and we bring that experience to the table. You might be looking for a quote because you're trying to understand how much will it cost to build something. So you have a meeting with one or more software vendors and they come up with this magic number. But it's based basically on the best guess of the person who's giving you that quotation. The truth is that they don't really know how much it will cost because they haven't done the work needed to break down the overall effort to estimate it. So for example, they say, we're going to gather your requirements, we're going to draw your mockups, we're going to build your app for this much money. And they quote you this number before they have actually done any of that breakdown. But in reality, they can't know the real cost until they have at least captured your detailed requirements or user stories. And even then, more details unfold as you go through UX design. So that leaves you stuck with a higher price than you originally budgeted for. So what we do is we practice something called progressive elaboration. We don't quote you for the whole project. What we do is we start with just the first step, and that is capturing and mapping out the user stories, which is basically the set of steps that a user takes through your app. That's the first statement of work. And it's not expensive. So you're only committing to take that first step, and you know exactly how much that first step will cost. And when it's done, you have a complete piece of work. It's this document that shows the user stories and the steps through your app. So it's kind of like getting the blueprint from your architect. Yeah, you don't have a house yet, but you do have a complete, actionable plan that you can then use with us or any other software vendor. That's your property. You paid for it. But then we can use that to quote the UX design work and give you a reliable price for that. Then we use those designs to give you a reliable price for the actual coding. So it reduces risk and gives you confidence in how much you're actually going to spend.